Apple Music to Spotify. And this is another new author I've been really wanting to try this year. Hello, happy Monday, happy Valentine's week. I decided I'm going to do a reading vlog for Valentine's because I have been fantasy the last couple of months, and now that I finished Onyx Storm, I am ready for a palette cleanser. I'm going to be doing mood reading, but right now all I'm in the mood for is a cheesy little fluffy little romance, and that's okay because I can choose. So I'm going to do a reading vlog of all of the romance kind of Valentine's-y books that I read this week leading up to Valentine's and my thoughts and feelings on them. But to start us off, I'm doing another Annabelle Monaghan book. I read Summer Romance and absolutely loved it. 5-star read, fell in love with it, love her writing. And now I am reading Same Time Next Summer on my Kindle. My Kindle is MIA at the moment, or I would be holding it, but I am about 15% into the book already and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's kind of like a childhood friends to lovers thing, and now it's years later, and of course they were no longer together during that time span. So I'm chomping at the bit for this one, I'm not gonna lie, but I can say right now, after coming off of fantasy, and I was reading this on my Kindle and I was like, how am I already 15% of the way through? Like, I haven't even read that much. My brain is so hardwired right now to reading like 800-page books that I think 15% is like 100 pages, 150 pages. But in a romance book, it's just not that. It's like 40 pages, if that. I'm like, wow, I'm flying through this. No, it's just literally like a third of the length of the books I've been reading for the last 2 months. But it's making me feel like I read at the speed of light. I can say that. I just got home from work for this Monday, so I'm going to do a few things around the house, and then I'm going to have a seat and knock out some reading for the day. So I am reading Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. I think I said that in the previous clip, but I'm about 36% of the way done. I feel like I'm flying through it after all these fantasy books. But this is only my second Annabelle Monaghan book. To my knowledge, I think she only has 3 books out, because I think the other one is Nora Goes Off Script. I love this book. I really love how it kind of goes back and forth between the then and the now, and then you also get both POVs of Wyatt and Sam. I don't know what it is, but the then and the nows, I feel like there's not a ton of romance books, or maybe I just haven't read a ton of romance books that kind of go back and forth like that. And every time I read them, I just think like this would be such a good movie or a TV show or something where you're just getting glimpses of the past and glimpses of the future and like their current situation, seeing the differences and kind of like how they got to the point that they are, but what was essentially. Because I feel like they're different and you don't get them a lot, so I really appreciate them, especially when they're done well. I feel like that's essential. Of course, if they're not done well, then they get to be very confusing or very bland, but there's something very simple about her writing. The chapters are super short, which makes it go by even faster, but it's very, not lyrical, but I don't know. It's just simple, but has so much substance in it at the same time. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's short, sweet, and to the point, but it's also not bland. And I feel like that's very hard. That's a very hard thing to accomplish. So I'm gonna go get ready for bed, lay in bed for a little while, hopefully get halfway through the book. But I will probably see you guys in the morning when I go to the gym and read on the treadmill. So until then, good night. Just got back from work. It's about 4:30 right now. I have made a really, I've flown through this book. I'm still reading Same Time Next Summer. started it yesterday, Monday, today's Tuesday, and I'm 60% of the way done. So I think I can definitely finish this today. I think I'm going to make a snack and grab a puppy, sit down and read, because I'm pretty sure I can finish the last of it in like the next couple of hours. So I feel like I'm reading at the speed of light right now, and that's great. I can't complain about that at all. And it helps that you're reading on your Kindle, of course. I feel like I read way faster on my Kindle than I do on a physical copy of a book. I don't know if that's a mental game. I don't know if that's actually true or not. Maybe we should test that theory someday. But for right now, I'm reading like Lightning McQueen. Ka-chow. It's been a day, y'all. It's been a day. My brain is all over the place. I need to read. I need to relax, decompress, read, because it's only Tuesday and I have a whole week to get through. So I'm going to sit down. It is a rainy, overcast weather day, which makes it a perfect day. It also, complaint number one for today, it has been literally high 70s for like the last week and a half, 2 weeks, ever since it snowed. And it decided to randomly get cold again. Not here for it. I'm gonna need the sun to come back out. I'm gonna need the cold to go away. I was hoping for an early spring. I'm over it, over the cold. It's been like 55 degrees all day, and if you know me, I hate everything below 65. I am meant for warm weather. I am not meant for the cold. I live in the South for a reason. So I am ready for the sun to come back out. But I can say, good reading weather, overcast, rainy. I wish I could have stayed in all day and read, to be honest with you. So let's go finish a book. You have to hear me crack it open, of course, so. I've been killing it on the poppy opens. Because I feel like this is like a main plot point right now, but is it normal to Google people? I feel like that's not. Everybody's telling Sam, like, why didn't you just Google? Why didn't you just Google this person? Why didn't you Google this person? I'm like, and she, in her head, she's like, who Googles people? And everybody tells her everyone does. And I'm like, I don't Google people. I mean, I would probably look them up on, social media if that counts as Googling, but like going into the Google search bar and like typing in a person's name, not my first thought in the slightest, but I would probably look at social media. No, I would 100% look at social media, for sure, for sure. Private investigator over here. But the Googling part is what's getting me. I feel like that's what's weird in the verbiage there. Maybe I might be reading way too far into this, but I just have to say that. It's amazing to me what authors can just think of, like the thought that these words just come out of their brains and it's like, oh, you just thought of that, like that's no big deal. But I just have to read this really fast. You cheat because you think it's going to make you someone else, that it's going to save you from your own misery. And that's a lie you're telling yourself. I guess that's the point, Sam. Another person is not going to turn you into anything but who you already are. Make sure you're not trying to turn yourself into someone else for someone else. Like, wow. I just finished Same Time Next Summer and I had so much fun with this book. It was so nice and refreshing just to be back in my romance grind a little bit because I've been on the fantasy grind for so long. But I don't think it was quite 5 stars. If I'm getting nitty gritty, which I know some people will hate this rating, but I think I would give it 4.5 stars. Very close to 5. The only thing with it is I just didn't have that feeling like I did with Onyx Storm where I'm constantly thinking about it, like what's gonna happen next, what's gonna do this. or like constantly obsessing over the couple. That's the only reason I'm not giving it 5 stars, but I did love every second of reading it, and I would absolutely recommend this to somebody. And that's 2 of her books that, I mean, a 4.5 and a 5-star rating. That's really good. So I'm really excited to read more about Annabelle Monaghan. I know she is the author of Nora Goes Off Script, so that's probably good. I'm probably going to be reading that very soon if I had to guess, because I really thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think the best way to describe her writing is that it is just simplistic, and there's beauty in simplicity. Like, that's the best way to describe how she writes things, and I think that is such a talent, and she has such a knack for that, because the book is short, sweet, and to the point. It still has you feeling all the feelings. Like, you feel so connected to the characters, you feel all of their emotions and what they're going through, and it has so much substance and so many good quotes in here. So I would absolutely recommend this book. We started this week off strong with a good Valentine's Day read. Definitely a good one for the month of love, that's for sure. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my next read. I don't know how much I'll get into it tonight, which is not late. It's only 6 o'clock right now, so maybe we will get a good chunk in, I don't know. But I think I'm finally going to read You with the View by Jessica Joyce. This is another new author I've been really wanting to try this year, because I've been hearing so many good things about her novels. I don't know which one's her debut novel and which one's not, but she only has 2 out, and I've heard amazing things about both. So this was the only one I could get my hands on in stores. Everybody's eating up the books for some reason, but you could also see why. I mean, like, look at this cover. I'm pretty sure I said that in my intro video, but these covers are gorgeous, and it's not just this one. Both of the books have gorgeous covers, but I think it's just getting Valentine's, don't we? Especially on, like, we've got the little hearts on here. Oh yeah, that's giving Valentine's if I ever saw one. So we're gonna jump into this book, and hopefully we find another high rating, because so far we are starting the month of February off with a bang on these ratings, and I'm so happy, because January was a little bit of a dud for me. My husband will be on his way home from work soon, so I'm going to do a little tidying up probably first. Maybe watch a YouTube video, because I know Sarah Caroli came out with a new one, so I'll probably put that on and do some things around the house first, and then I'll read until he gets home before we make dinner. So I'll probably catch you in bed while I'm reading. Lost my mini microphone, which, guys, I'm really sad about that. I know it was obnoxious probably, but I still really liked it. We're gonna have to search for that this weekend, but I don't have time for that this week. I got about 30% of the way through, I think. I'm on page 104. So we got a good little chunk in last night before bed. I have a little bit of extra time before I need to leave for work. It's 6:15 right now, and I need to leave at like 6:45. So I think I'm gonna sit and read for a little bit, but I am loving the book. Again, I said it once, twice, and I'm saying it again. Going into books blind is so much better, because I had not a clue what this one was about. I do know a little bit about the X-Files, but You with the View, I did not know what it was about at all. Only thing I knew was that it did involve social media a little bit, and that was it. And I am obsessed with the storyline of this. I won't get into it too much, but I read the dedication, and the dedication had me curious, because it's Graham, I got all your signs that you were with me while I wrote this. I love you further than forever. And so I was like, okay, Grandma's gonna play a part in this, but I think it's so sweet, the turn it's taken. It's almost like a play on, what is that movie called? And it's a book, you know, The Longest Ride. I feel like it's similar to that, in the sense of you're getting the older man's perspective, and he's the one telling you about their love story, but it's almost like a little mystery as well, because her grandmother has just passed, which that's not a spoiler, that's in the very first chapter of the book, promise. But her grandmother has just passed, and I feel like she's on this little like scavenger hunt almost to uncover these little secrets when she thought she knew everything about her grandmother, and now obviously there's like one little part of herself that she always kept hidden. So I think that's really, really sweet. I love where that storyline is going, and I'm so excited. It already took a turn that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting just like the whole book to be that, basically just a recounting of everything, but it's not. It has a good little tiny plot twist in the beginning that I think is going to be fun and kind of sets up the romance for it. Okay, we're home from work and it is a very gloomy day, but we're getting ready to go to the gym. I read a couple of chapters in between some time today, but we are on page 176. So I think we're right at the halfway point, if not maybe a teeny bit over the halfway point. I really like it. I'm really enjoying it. I don't think I love it as much as the previous read, but it's definitely gonna be up there. We're doing really great with the reads right now. The mood reading is definitely the way to go. Going in blind is definitely the way to go. My prediction is in my head for this one, so we're gonna have to wait and see if I'm right. I'm hoping I'm not right, because I feel like if I am, then that might drop the rating a little bit for me, but we will find out. Also, I look insane because of the rain. I have been running in and out of offices all day and atrociousness. Anywho, let's go walk and read. Okay, I just took a shower, went to the gym, did all kinds of fun stuff. I'm on chapter 22, which is page 224. So I'm definitely over halfway. I don't even know how many pages. 348 pages. So I have like 120-ish pages left, a little over that. I would love to finish this tonight. Realistically, don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm also so mad at myself because I know, tardy to the party before I say this, so don't come at me, recently switched from Apple Music to Spotify and realized I have premium and now have some hours of audiobooking. Thank you. And this is it's included on the audiobooks, and so I have been driving around all day listening to a different audiobook, and I could have been double timing this one and basically done with the book today. I'm so mad at myself for that, because I probably would love this audiobook a lot more than the one I'm currently listening to, because I could care less about the one where that was incorrect. I couldn't care less. There it is. I couldn't care less about the one I'm listening to right now, but we're almost done with it, so whatever. But still going great. I love the grandfather in this. It reminds me so much, again, of The Longest Ride. I think I already said that, but it's like a more modern take on it. Like, there's definitely a lot of differences. Don't go into this thinking it's gonna be Nicholas Sparks or whatever. Better writing style, I would say. In this one, it's not quite so cheesy as what I'm used to, or quite as cheesy as what that one would be, at least in my opinion. I don't think it is. And I think it would make an absolutely great rom-com movie. I really hope this gets picked up for a movie at some point or another, because I feel like it's very easy to, it's one of those books that's very transferable from the book to the screen, if done right. I feel like there's a lot of books that are like that are done wrong, but I feel like the adaptation could be very easy and very accurate, and I would love to see it. It's a Wednesday, we're almost to Valentine's Day, so I'm hoping to try and squeeze one more book into this video, but let's try and get as much reading as we can in before bed. Y'all, I'm so mad. I was drinking my Poppy and I went to go move my leg and spilled it all over my white duvet cover and comforter. It's 7:30 at night and now I'm sitting here with stain remover on it, waiting to put it in the wash. I was just trying to read my book. Like, this is so sad. You with the View by Jessica Joyce, and also didn't realize this, but knocking this off from from my first YouTube video where I said 5 books that I was going to knock off my physical TBR. 1 down, 4 more to go, so go me. But I went back and forth on this book. I needed a minute to gather my thoughts on it because going in I had really high hopes. I mentioned that it reminded me a little bit of the storyline that was going on with The Longest Ride with the grandfather Paul, but I feel like it just didn't go the direction it needed, I guess, to say the least. I think I'm going to settle on a 3.5 stars for this. I debated on 4, but the more I got into it, the further to the end I got, and then finishing it, I was like, I just don't feel like it was there. I really wish there were more letters from her grandmother diving in deeper to her grandmother's past and that love story that she had, because that's kind of like the whole premise that you start with on the book. You do get a glimpse of it throughout it. I just wish we got more of it, I guess. I feel like that was lost like a little over halfway through it, especially. And so that's where it kind of started falling off to me. And then the ending just wasn't what I feel like would have been the best ending to go with. I felt like it was very just like fell off the edge kind of thing, and the climax of it should have happened a little bit sooner than it did, I think. I feel like in the last few chapters it just spiraled, and then it was kind of a stupid conflict, and I was kind of like, I don't know. The concept of the book, really there, really enjoyed it. I would say up until the halfway point, even maybe a little bit over, and then that's when it started going a little bit further south for me, where I was like, I'm a little bit disappointed. I do think I had really high hopes for it, not because of other people's opinions, but more just going into it after starting it. I was like, ooh, I think I'm really gonna love where this plotline's going. And then it just started to, I don't know, there were some unnecessary spice scenes, I felt like, I don't know. So I think I'm gonna settle on 3.5. I would definitely still recommend it to people. It would be a particular person probably. It's a good rating. Again, I said it once, I'll say it again. 3 stars and above is a good reading. I did enjoy the book. I really did enjoy the book. I read it in 2 days. So yes, I really enjoyed the book. This was a great Valentine's Day pick, but I'm settling on 3.5. I don't think it deserves a 3 stars. I feel like that's too low for it because I did really like it for the majority of it, and I still liked the rest of it. I just didn't absolutely love it. I probably won't think twice about it, unfortunately. So I'm sticking to that 3.5 stars. So that was last night. Book 2 is done. I did on my drive to work today, I mentioned that I switched to Spotify in the last clip, I think. And so I will be utilizing that audiobook trait of it. I think that's amazing. I wish there was like another tier or something to it where you could have unlimited. I don't want to know how much that would cost out of my budget probably, but I would definitely think about it. I wouldn't think about it. I'd probably do it if that was an option. I decided I want to keep trying to knock some stuff off of my physical TBR if possible. Not another one of my top 5 books, but up on this romance shelf, I know I have How to End a Love Story, I believe it's called. And I started listening to it on my way home from work. I'm not super far into it. I think I'm only about like 20% in, which I don't think the book is long, so that's probably not very many pages. So I think we're gonna grab that, and that's gonna be my next read, and hopefully we can knock that out in the next couple of days too. Like I said, I feel like I'm reading at the speed of lightning over here because of how short these books are compared to everything else I've been reading. So we're back on track for reading in 2025. Let's go grab our new book. Hello, don't mind my craziness, but it's now Friday. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I'm a Valentine's-ish kind of, what does it say? Love you. Love you. It's from Sunkissed Coconut. I have hearts all over it too. I don't know if you can see any of them. There's one there. Thought it was very festive. Anywho, I'm like 3/4 of the way through with How to End a Love Story. I have a lot of thoughts on this one, so I'm gonna do like a little wrap up at the end after I finish it for sure, which I probably will in the next couple of hours, but it's not at all what I expected. I did in fact judge a book by its cover in this instance, which shame on me, but what can I say? From the cover, it looks like it's gonna be this really cute, fluffy love story, and it's not. It's much spicier than I anticipated, so I find myself kind of skimming at those parts a lot. And it starts off on a very, very sad, depressing topic that's kind of a rolling theme, and I feel like that's where it drops off for me. I'll get more into that later, but I feel like we lost the main point, and it's a very heavy topic to discuss on. Definitely would check any trigger warnings before you read this probably, just in case, but I think I'm gonna keep going. I did think about DNFing it at one point, but we're too far in for that. At this point, we just need to finish it. It's not bad enough to DNF for me, but I don't think it's my cup of tea either. I don't know that I would recommend it to anybody, to be honest with you, but I thought the whole concept was cool because I know that the author, I don't want to butcher her name, but Yulin Quang, so sorry if I did. I think she is a script writer for movies and TV shows and stuff. I'd have to go back and look, don't quote me on that, but I think she is, and so that's kind of where a lot of the plot of this comes into play, is the main male character is a script writer, and then the girl he knows from high school wrote an award-winning series and everything that's being turned into a TV show, so lo and behold, he's the script writer for her TV show, and that's where it all comes back into play. And so I thought it was a very interesting concept since she has that background. I think, again, I could have made that up in my head. I swear I heard, read, saw that somewhere. I'll go back and check it before the end of this video. So that was initially what drew me into it, but it's just very different than anything I expected. It's not the lighthearted, fluffy read I thought I was gonna read for this Valentine's video. Definitely still a romance read, of course. It's just not exactly the kind I was expecting or anticipating with it. So unfortunately, our ratings are kind of dropping a little bit in this video, but I'm still having a blast making it. I'm having a blast getting back into romance. So let's go finish this book and then I'll come back after for a wrap up. But it is Saturday, it's the day after Valentine's Day, and I just have to show this. My husband got me this for Valentine's Day. He has no clue who Baymax is. None whatsoever. But he saw it and was like, oh, she'll love that. And I think, honestly, that just made it 10 times funnier and 10 times better. But he got me this for Valentine's Day with a rose and a funny card. I don't know where the card is, but it says you have a cute butt on it. So didn't sign it or anything, just gave it to me and that was it. It was really funny. But anywho, this is our quick wrap up. I have finished 3 books this week, which is pretty good. And the first one we read was Same Time Next Summer, and that one ended up at a 4.5 star rating. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This is the best one out of all 3 of these books that we read this week. It was top tier. I would recommend this to absolutely everybody. It is childhood friends that had a relationship previously and life happened, things happened, and it's many years later. They're in 2 separate places in their lives and they just come back together at one point and so on and so forth. And I think her writing was absolutely amazing. It was so great in summer romance as well. I mean, I just think it's consistent all around. I said it in previous clips, but it's something that if you don't want a bunch of fluff, but you want a lot of meaningful words, that's how she writes. There's still descriptive words, they're still setting the scene, setting the tone, you're in the world, you have the feelings, but there's no fluff. That's the best way I can explain it to you. It's something that's very difficult to master as a writer, in my opinion, and that you don't see a lot of the time. That's why you have books that go on for ages, and sometimes that can be great and sometimes it can be very frustrating, and I feel like she does a very good job at putting just enough in there to make you feel like you're in with the characters. So I highly recommend both Annabelle Monaghan books at this point. But Same Time Next Summer was so good. 4.5 stars. Didn't quite make the 5. I did like Summer Romance just a smidge better, I think, but highly recommend this one. This was a great start to the Valentine's video. And then we knocked another book off of my, or not another book, but I guess knocked our first book off of my top 5 books to read for 2025, and that was You with a View by Jessica Joyce. Also my first book by this author. She's also the author of The X-Files, which I have heard a little bit about that one, but I hadn't really heard anything about this one. All I knew is that it had to do with social media, hence the cover. But I had such high hopes when I started this book. Where it started versus where it went, I was very disappointed. So I ended up at a 3.5 star rating. I debated on 4 stars at one point, but it just, after that halfway mark, I really struggled with it. I just felt like I was disappointed in the aspect of his grandfather, Paul, is such a important character in the book, and I just feel like he wasn't important enough. Like, as you went on, things just kind of dropped off and it just didn't go the direction it needed to go. The point of conflict between the couple kind of needed to happen a little bit sooner than it did, and I think it could have gone a completely different route that would have made a lot more sense than where it did. So that kind of frustrated me a lot. I just feel like overall the plot kind of got a little bit lost. Obviously it's romance, and so they are the forefront of the story, but I feel like her grandmother and her past romance and what they're uncovering, and Paul, those are all very important factors that I feel like would have added more to the story, if that makes sense. It would have connected you more to the story than where it dropped off on those. There could have been more letters, there could have been more mystery, there could have been more, it was basically like a scavenger hunt. There could have been more in that essence, to me anyway. It could have showed more, as well as the social media following and all of that. I just feel like it could have been developed a little bit better than it was. So for that reason, 3.5 stars. I wasn't obsessed with it, unfortunately, but I really loved the idea of it. I just think the execution kind of fell flat for me. Next book and final book of this video, How to End a Love Story. Y'all, I should have DNF'd. I've said it previously, I'm not good at DNFing. I'm just not. I would check your trigger warnings before reading this. It actually says it in the beginning of the book anyway, if you ever read the beginning pages. But it does talk about suicide, and it opens up at a funeral for the main character, Helen, her sister, and she ultimately ran out in front of a car, and the boy who was driving that car went to their high school. And so those are your 2 main characters, is the boy and Helen, the girl's sister. And That's literally what the entire story is built off of in the very beginning. It's your opening scene, it's where it goes, it's why they don't like each other, and then fast forward, I think it's 13 years, over a decade later, and she is a famous author. Her series gets purchased to be turned into a TV series, and lo and behold, he is a scriptwriter. Concept really there, and it wasn't the light fluffy romance I thought I was going to get looking at it, but that was okay as long as the concept stayed, and it just didn't. Like after 20%, this whole conflict that the whole relationship should have been based around disappeared, I thought. And then it just suddenly comes back at the very end once, I guess you would say it's the climax scene happens. It was a lot of unnecessary spice, in my opinion. Like it started off thinking it was going to be such an emotional book, that there was going to be so much emotional turmoil in it. And then there wasn't. Like, that's what was crazy, is it has this trigger warning, and like it's brought up here and there, and then it's brought up in the very beginning the most. That's where it's set off of, and it's brought back into play at the very, very end. But in between, I feel like it just got lost. And you get glimpses of his struggle with anxiety and stuff since all of this has happened, but you get like the most minimal amount. Like, that could have played such a bigger factor into building his character. I still loved him as a guy. Like, I thought it was great, but the execution just failed on this one completely. Like, it really did. I was really disappointed in this one, and I was kind of sad about it. Unnecessary spice, a lot of plot holes, a lot of the emotional aspect of it that could have played such a factor and really connected you to the characters and been such a beautiful story was lost. So I would love to see this concept redone in another way, because it honestly should be a pretty depressing book, if we're being honest with you. And I guess in an attempt to make it more lighthearted, that's why a lot of it was left out, or a lot of the talk was left out. I don't know. But if you're already opening up on something that's such a heavy topic, go all in on it, I guess is what I have to say. Like, don't play it lightly. I think that would do a lot better than just dropping it off. Like, I don't know. So my rating, I was gonna say 2.5 stars, but honestly at that point, half stars are just stupid. So I'm going with the 2 stars at this. I probably should DNF'd it. I ended up having to do the audiobook on this one because I was just really frustrated. I was frustrated where it was going. I really was. And so for that reason, I would not recommend this book, unfortunately. We have a visitor. That wraps up this Valentine's reading vlog with 3 books. We did Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan, You at the View by Jessica Joyce, and How to End a Love Story. I would love to hear your thoughts on these books, especially if you have differing ones, because I was a little disappointed in some of these more popular books. But like, comment, subscribe, please share. I will attach my social media on the next slide if you want to reach out to me that way. I would just love to hear anybody's thoughts, whether you agree or disagree. Until our next reading vlog, bye y'all.